what's going to be? How's it hanging? How's it happen? You guys know this is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast. The podcast, when some magazine describes as one that initiates profound discussions with rock and metal artists, allowing fans to discover the creative workflow of their favorite musicians and understand the factors that make the band succeed or fall from fame. We are all sponsored by Dark Fusion Systems, the best for your custom computing needs. Get $100 off your entire bill. Go to pod at darkfusionsystems.com/podcast below. Let's go to our feature presentation. I'm not messing up the name like I do in the intro for this, but we have Nils from Velvet Chains on the podcast today. Their most recent single, Dead Inside, ended the year on the Billboard Rock Charts at number 31 for 2024. That's where it ended on the last chart of the year, so they're looking pretty good. Join us as we talk to them about the creation of the band and see where the funness of this episode comes when I get the name wrong. Beyond that, though, see why being open to many different ideas creatively and allowing producers potentially have a little bit of creative power and creative freedom with your music can not only help your music grow, but become even better. Then we dive into Dead Inside and we really see and figure out why is this song hitting on Radio Rock, especially at the end of 2024, and what it sets up for the band going forward. So have some fun with this one, everybody. Let's go! Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast. You know we love to have any band in the rock and metal sphere come out of the podcast. You never know what you're going to find here, and this might be another one that you have not heard about yet, but after this episode, trust me, you're going to know all about this band absolutely every step of the way. They have a brand new, most recent single, I say, called Dead Inside, which at the moment of recording is number 31 on the Billboard Rock Charts. Again, this is about middle of December, so they're going to end the year on the high note after touring with Slash, Miles Kennedy. Like, this is nuts. This band is absolutely growing. You're going to want to get to know them, their hard rock sound, and what is coming next from the band, who knows? But this guy knows. So please welcome Nils from the band Velvet, or is it Vicious? Shoot, it's Vicious Chains, right?
Velvet Chains, but we could change it. I mean, why not?
I wrote down Vicious Chains. I knew it was Velvet Chains. I'm like, I'm going to mess this up. I have this whole intro idea planned. I never mess it up, and it's the first time I mess it up. Oh, my God. Okay, could I get my V8 for the day and just, like, smack on the head and call it a day?
No, dude, I actually liked Vicious Chains for a while there. We were thinking of, when we first started, we were like, we should go to Velvet Chainsaw, but we never thought of Vicious Chains. Dude, that's sick. We may do it. It may happen.
Well, if there's going to be a change in the name from Velvet Chains to Vicious Chains, just know that it was my randomness that may have re-sparked. I'm going to say re-sparked because, you guys have, Velvet Chains saws. But, we can make that change a little bit. Who knows?
Yeah, and we were a little softer in the beginning. That's why we're like, Velvet Chains is good enough. Velvet Chainsaw sounds like horror rock, like Ice Nine Kills kind of thing. And we didn't really do that. But now with Dead Inside and the new stuff we're working on, we may have to go to Vicious Chainsaw. How about that?
Ooh, so then all of a sudden we're going to start seeing you guys go out and tour with like Ice Nine Kills, Motionless in White, maybe Guar even, just trying to get as gruesome as possible.
I mean, give the people what they want, right? I think we got to do that. I think we may as well try it. But no, we're Velvet Chains. But this whole name thing, it used to be a thing a couple years ago. But no, we're Velvet Chains. But yeah, man, I like Vicious.
It's Velvet Chains and AKA Vicious Chains, AKA Vicious Chainsaw, AKA Velvet Chainsaw, AKA... Honestly, throw whatever you want in there. As long as it has chains in there and it starts with a V, I think you're going to be just fine.
I appreciate that. And by the way, that was an incredible intro. Very kind of you. Love it. Everything you said. Thank you. Probably the best intro we've had on one of these. So thanks, man.
Even after I fucked it up royally, it's still the best one. Okay, I'm taking that as a win, everybody. Okay, we're good. Thank you, man. See everybody. No, but seriously, we're going to continue on with this bad boy. We're going to keep it rolling because one thing I like to do is find out about as much as I can about the band. I know you guys formed around 2018, really got going over the last couple of years, but overall, when it came to finding out you guys through Dead Inside, I really didn't know much about the band beforehand. I'm not sure about how many of the other people, especially our listeners, really know about Velvet Chains, but I want to get to know the backstory. I want to get to know the origin story. I mean, the day we're recording this was that new Superman movie where the trailer dropped. So we're starting a whole universe here. We're going to start the universe of Velvet Chains right now for everybody cinematic style. So let me in on the history of the band. How did this whole thing get started? How did everything that happened bring you to where you are today with a song that's, charting on the rock charts for Billboard?
Yeah, man, happy to do that. So the band has had a few different stages it's gone through. And the reason it's just me here today, mostly because the rest of the band, they're all in their own. We just got back from tour in the Midwest, and everybody's back home trying to ask for forgiveness to their significant others and trying to recover from excessive drinking and whatever else happened. But yeah, I started the band back in 2018, and it's kind of been we're a full band, right? We're all in this together. We're all brothers. But I'm the one that's stuck from the beginning until today, so I'm probably the best suited to answer any questions. Yeah, so 2018, one day I go on Craigslist and I put an ad saying, yo, let's start a cover band and play the music that I love, 90s, grunge, 2000s, alternative rock, hard rock, and so on. And I got a couple of responses, and I'm like, let's just play bars here out in Vegas and have fun and rock out. And got a few responses, put together a band, and that's kind of why the name is what it is. If you go on eBay and you Google Velvet Chains, some dude's selling T-shirts, a Velvet Chains Fetish Club. So depending on the right setting, sometimes we say that's where we got the name from because we go to some in the Netherlands. It's like a Netherlands address on the T-shirt. So yeah, no, we used to hit that place in Amsterdam, the Velvet Chains Fetish Club. But if you know, depending on the situation, we may say that. But the truth is. We're like, we play a lot of Velvet Revolver, Alice in Chains, and you want to play a cover gig at a bar tonight, Velvet Chains. Well, that sounds like music, grungy and hard rock and whatever. So that's where the name came from. And we had this first iteration, and ask me any questions, stop me, because I could just keep going forever. But
I'll let you keep going. I'm loving the story of this already. I mean, you brought up how their name could possibly be linked to a fetish club in the Netherlands, which makes me think at times you guys were watching Euro Trip and saw the, shirt that said Club Vander Sex, and you said, hey, we got to find a club that's actually in the Netherlands to name the band after.
Yeah, that's right. Problem is, we never found out what the safe word was, so we kind of
was it's Hugenschleimen? I don't know.
Something like that. I love that movie, by the way. I've seen it like 1,000 times.
Same here.
So cool. At the time when that movie came out, I had an ex-girlfriend from Slovakia, and when they say no, going to Bratislava, she was so offended because she's from there. It's like 10 cents. I'll buy my own hotel. The guy says, and I thought it was hilarious, and my ex hated fucking hate. Sorry for the cuss word.
Oh, you can swear all you want. I don't give a fucking shit.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, no, I did that on the radio recently in one of the radio interviews, and I said the F word twice, and they're like, oh no, and I had to send in these custom cookies that we made that said sorry for saying fuck you with our logo. Yeah, that was kind of funny. But back on track. So the first iteration of the band was that we'd just go out and play cover gigs and have fun with it. But and we started building a bit of a local fan base, and we never even thought of originals. And then COVID hit, and all we could do was we couldn't rehearse, we couldn't do anything, right? Everything shut down, we couldn't play. That was for like a year and a half or something. And at some point in the middle of that, I'm like, look, I could sit here on my couch and drink whiskey and stare at the wall, or I could sit here on my couch, drink whiskey, and stare at a piece of paper and try to write some lyrics down. So added that variable in there, and I started working with a songwriter out of LA, singer, composer, songwriter kind of dude. Drew Lawrence had worked with a couple of big artists. We got connected through a mutual friend, and started writing songs. And once we had a few demos put together, I went to my band and I said, I'm gonna do this with or without you, but let's create, like, the challenge was, can we put out a record on Spotify, on streaming, Apple Music, wherever, right? And they're all like, well, we got nothing better to do, so let's try that. And we actually created like a 10-song album and uploaded and everything. Now, the granted, a lot of it was basic, our first shot at it. But we managed to do that. And from that first iteration, there's 3 songs that we kept. Eventually, we took the album down, spoke to a PR guy, and he's like, hey, this sounds like the best demo record I've ever heard. It's like it doesn't. And I'm like, you know what? I love it. Like, give me that feedback. I don't want yes people around me, right? Give me feedback like that. And taught us a big lesson. We learned a lot about how this whole thing works. And then we had a couple of changes in the lineup, and we found a new singer and added a couple people, shuffled a couple people around to we become who we are today. But at that point, we worked with a producer here in Vegas, Kane Churko, from the Churko family, who've worked with a ton of big names, right? They got their beautiful studio here in Vegas. And Kane helped us find our sound with our first really well-produced song, which was Last Drop. And from that song, we were able to get interest from management and booking agencies and all that stuff. And one thing I will say, though, is on the first album, like one of the highlights of my music career was through another mutual friend, we managed to get a feature from Richard Fortes, who's rhythm guitar in Guns N' Roses. So the first single we ever dropped on the original album, Tattooed, which we typically finish our live shows with that song, because it's just total Guitar Hero stuff.
Oh yeah.
That was recorded and written, the guitar parts by Richard Fortes. And GNR is my favorite band. So I'm like, shit, first single I ever drop, and I got a dude from Guns N' Roses on here. I'm inspired. I'm like, I'm going all the way. Nothing's stopping me. So that's the short version of it. Yeah, not too short.
That's the short version, not too short, but definitely a lot of moments in there which made me smile and made me contemplate on how great of a history that actually is coming up. I mean, first off, just the joke that we were able to make about, the name of the band and just how that all started just brings me even closer to the idea of what the band is. And it makes sense of why you went with Velvet Chains overall, given the style of music that you're playing on a cover side, 90s, 2000s, grunge, more hard rock. So it all fits in there. One thing I am actually impressed about too is when you had the time when the pandemic hit, a lot of artists wrote, a lot of artists had a lot of ideas to do things, but especially when it came to a lot of people that were in smaller bands or even cover bands and the pandemic hit, it was very easy to slip into basically what we'd call, like that normal life or that normal corporate life where you're going to go to work, get a job, just get a steady paycheck, and essentially let the dream of making music or the dream, whatever you're going after, die. But you didn't do that. You kind of took a step back and you went from, potentially being like, like a grunge frontman in the 90s, sitting on the couch drinking whiskey. Instead of just staring at the wall, you actually, did what they would do and start writing music, start writing lyrics, try different things out. And it's great that you got that first album out there because you got that initial response from that PR guy saying it's the best demo album you ever heard. The best thing about that is you didn't take that as a negative. You took that as, hey, we took our first shot at it, and the guy still thinks, there's still something there if he's saying it's the best demo album. But that means that we got more to do. We got more to try. We've got more to learn. But it excites you in a way where you're taking that potential criticism in a constructive manner, especially when it comes to your art. So many people, when it comes to their art, because of how much passion they put into it, would take that as an absolute shot to their own selves and to their own being of who they are, who their character is, who they are at their soul, who they are at their core. Instead of that, you said, you know what? This dude's right. But let's make it better. Let's not take it to heart. Let's take it as this is where the sound is. Let's try and make it better so that as we continue to go on as Velvet Chains, we build up on it and get better. And that's where we get something like Dead Inside charting on Billboard even at the end of 2024.
No, I appreciate that, man. That's pretty much spot on. Like, if there's something that I know is that I don't know a lot of things. It's a weakness and a strength at the same time, right? Like, I'm out there to learn. I'd be fooling myself if I told you somebody's going to write a book about my bass playing. Like, I'm not. I don't aspire to be a virtuoso. Like, I'm good. I'm solid, and I'm always taking lessons and refreshing. I don't believe that you ever stop learning, right? I've been playing bass for quite a few years, but I think you can always get better, right? I take vocal lessons to keep my vocals fresh for backup vocals, things like that. But at the same time, it's that, like, anybody that gets hurt from their first record is like, you're bound to fail. Like, you're expected to not be some gifted individual that from the first try, you're incredible. It's not how the world works, right? But at the same time, for me, the like what you said about people, it was easy for people to slip back into their professional corporate lives. For me, it was a little bit of the opposite, because music for me has always been, especially back then, my mental health kind of treatment, my therapy for my corporate life. So the moment all that happened, I was slipping back into my standard, like what I always did. And I'm like, no, this is not going to work for me. I need to keep this music thing going. And if that means writing songs and creating originals, that's what I'm going to do. So yeah, 100%. And funny, back to that original record, that was such a demo record, because the guy was nice enough to say, well, Nirvana blew up and their record was completely non-produced, just like yours. So he's trying to act nice, be like, you guys could be the next Nirvana, was the piece of crap that you put out. But again, with the exception of a few songs in there that we kept, like Tattooed with Richard Fortes on there and a couple more. But for me, it was that. And funny enough, our manager, who's incredible, we love Don. He had heard our original stuff from before. I didn't even know the guy. One of the guy who helped record us showed him our original stuff, and the guy's like, "Nah, dude, don't ever bring this band to me again. Like, there's nothing here." And that was with our original singer too. And now after that, when we recorded Last Drop with Kane Churko, and we had the new singer who's no longer new anymore by any means, but with him on board and everything, the first song we recorded. And then through another mutual friend, he went back to Don and he's like, "You got to check this band out." And he's like, "Oh, I've listened to that. Don't bring me that crap. Like, I'm not interested." And he's like, "No, listen to this song. This is now produced. They got a new singer. This is a whole different thing." And I was really good friends with this mutual friend, right? And that's Mike Squires. I got to give him credit. He's helped us so much. Mike Squires is in Duff McKagan's Loaded. He used to be, and now he's touring with Duff as his solo guy. He's in Ugly Kid Joe, a bunch of stuff, right? And then he shows it to Don, and he's like, "Oh shit, they've upped their game. Like, now they have a singer that this could work. This sounds great. This is like a radio single here."
Yeah.
So we started working from there. But yeah, first chance, even he heard our stuff, and he's like, "Nah, this is not for me. No, thank you. They're not going anywhere." And then once we took that lesson from that PR guy, who I'm forever thankful for that. And we said, okay, now let's put in more work. Let's get better. How do we fix this? It worked out right away. Management was like, "Yeah, we're interested. Let's go." So yeah, man.
That's even a cooler story to even add on top of it. Just the resilience and the persistence that you had to continue making music and continue to take that, positive criticism in a way that was going to make the band better. Even when your manager was like, "Oh no, I don't want to listen to this." You didn't let that first time get you down. You didn't let that first time of a rejection beat you down in any sort of way. You kept going, you kept trying, and you kept learning. If we don't continue to learn, no matter what we're in, whether it's in, a professional space, whether it's in a managerial space, whether it's in a creative space, whatever you're doing, whether it's music or even with me with the podcast side of things, if we're not constantly learning, we're not constantly trying to do better, we get stagnant, we get stuck, and that's where a lot of that potential apathy for problems comes in. That's where we can't take that criticism. We think that we know everything. That's where we refuse to adapt to what's going on, and we refuse to continue to try even if we get those no's. We might be able to even quit at that point and just throw up our hands and say it's a lot easier to go to this very defined path to normalcy. But especially for so many people that are in the creative space, no matter what space you're in, that's like essentially a mental death sentence. And you can't be dealing with that. You got to keep going. You got to keep learning. And persistence is such a key thing. So the fact that you guys have had that and you've continued to employ that throughout the life cycle of this band, it got to the point where people that had written you off at first can't write you off anymore. They're embracing you due to the fact that you're continuing to get better. You're continuing to improve not only as musicians, as people, but as just business people in this industry. Because it is an industry, it is a business, music is a business, but you're still learning continuously and making sure that you're not getting left behind in the dust for your own ambition.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And I love it. I think we share the same mindset, man. And it's just like that in life, right? And tell me no 1,000 times, I'm going to get a yes at 1,001. I've been rejected so many times in so many different things in music and life and work and whatever. But it's like, other people have done it. Other people have succeeded in the same thing I'm trying to do. So there's a way. I just got to figure it out. It's not on them. It's on me to figure out what the formula is, So yeah, I never blame other people for any lack of success. It's all on me, and just work hard and right the shoulders of giants. That's a phrase that I learned from my friend David Lowy from the Dead Daisies. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that band, but really. Dead Daisies are out there doing really cool things. And David Lowy is a very, very successful entrepreneur who, some middle-aged point decided to go and create a rock band and tour the world. Now, he's got a private jet and all that stuff, so it's easier than driving a Ford Transit around the middle of the Midwest, but he's done huge things with his band, and he's had incredible names in his band. He's even had Richard Fortes in his band back in the day. He's had a guy from Deep Purple, what's his name? A bass player, singer. He's had... so many. He had the guy from Motley Crue, the singer who replaced Vince Neil there for a moment.
John Corabi?
Yeah. John Corabi is with him again now. And so he has all these people with him, but he always says the same thing. He's like, I write the shoulders to giants. And that's exactly what I do. It's the same thing, man. And our band is so cool and so talented. So yeah, it's again, rejection. I don't care. Tell me no 1,000 times, but we'll get there.
Not rejection, but just personal accountability to what you want to do. You're taking everything and saying it's, your own responsibility, where at times that can be a detriment. But if you're constantly saying, okay, it's my fault that we're not there, it's my fault that we're not doing well, it's my fault that the song isn't good, then you're going to take a look and see, okay, what pieces did you actually impact? What was your direct influence? What can you directly influence? And what can you change in order to make the outcome better? It's that kind of accountability that will allow you to, walk and just sit on the shoulders of giants and continue to get further in this industry and continue to get further in this whole entire realm that we call rock and metal. And you'll get to the point potentially where you're not riding around in a Ford Transit van in the Midwest, which I currently am in. I'm looking outside and there's a bunch of white stuff falling from the sky. So I don't think you really want to be touring in a transit van when it's under 32 degrees Fahrenheit outside, snow is falling, and you're only going like 30 on the highway because everyone else is going slow to make sure they don't slip and, cause bad things to happen.
Yeah, and we were just out there for 2 weeks. I just got back 2 days ago, and we got lucky, man, because the moment we left, like, Wisconsin, like, within a couple hours, it started snowing, pouring down like crazy. And we all live in Vegas. We don't know how to drive in that kind of weather, man. And we were just gonna wing it. Our drummer is from the Chicago area,
okay,
so he has experience, but he's been in Vegas for a long, long time. So we just got super lucky, and it was meant to be. We love the Midwest. It's the nicest people anywhere. And everybody's so friendly and welcoming, man. But yeah, that snow thing would have put us in a pickle if we would have had to deal with that.
Man, if I would have known you guys before this, I would have volunteered my services to get you through Wisconsin. That's where I'm sitting right now talking to you. So driving through the snow is no issue to me. It's more of like a fun challenge than like a, absolute fearful, I can't do this. I'm like, let's see how we can do this. Let's go.
That's awesome. We're in. I appreciate that. Next time we're out there, and if the conditions, require it, we will definitely ask you for help, man. We're in Wisconsin, are you?
I'm in Milwaukee.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Awesome. We passed through there. We didn't play there. We passed through there last time. We've been in Wisconsin or specifically Madison and Beaver Dam area for the past 6 months. We've been there like 4 times already. It's becoming a second home, man. Like JJO up in Madison has just invited us so many times out there, and they keep playing our stuff. So yeah, no, we love that place.
I gotta give credit to JJO too, because JJO is like one of the only actual radio stations in Wisconsin that is consistently playing the heavier side of music and actually giving it so much more of a platform than so many other places in the mainstream are. Granted, a lot more of the mainstream is starting to catch up now with how rock and metal are really taking back a lot of the stuff that they had lost previously in terms of mental, fortitude in people's minds, that little space that sticks in there from a sonic perspective. But they've always been behind it for as long as I can remember, and it's continuing to show. I mean, every year when they do Taste of Madison, just a huge food festival around the Capitol building in Madison, they've got one music stage specifically designated for JJO that's sponsored by them, and at least one of the 2 days, the headliner is Nonpoint, and everyone gets to mosh in the streets to their absolute glory. So maybe you guys will be at it again.
Year, so
I said maybe get at it again because I didn't get to show up until like the end of Taste of Madison. I was only there for Nonpoint.
Dude, we had a solid crowd. I know Nonpoint is the big driver of people out there, but we had a pretty solid crowd wearing our t-shirts and our hoodies and stuff. And I just remember, man, I'm never gonna forget that gig because we're standing there and I'm playing, I'm having a blast, and I see all these people. And then I look up, and there's this massive Capitol. Granted, I've seen it 1,000 times walking to and from a couple days early. We got there, blah, blah. But when you're on that stage and you're playing rock and roll and you see this beautiful building out right in front of you, it looks like a spaceship, like something massive. I had trouble concentrating. I'm like, dude, in the moment, dude, you're playing, pay attention to what you're doing. Because I was just mesmerized by the beauty of that Capitol building, man. So yeah, no, we love that place.
I was walking around that area a couple of weeks ago because my brother got married in Madison. The hotel I was staying at was literally right in that area. So I'm like staying on the street. I'm like, this is where I threw someone down at Nonpoint. This is where I hit someone real hard. This is where I caused someone to start bleeding on accident. Memories.
That's awesome. And no, yeah, seeing all that and how rowdy the crowds get and how into it. We're working on a new song right now that's got, I don't want to give anything out yet, but that breakdown part may warrant a little bit of that kind of treatment from the crowd. So it's going to be sick. I can't wait to release it.
See, now you're saying you got a brand new song that's going to cause me to go moshy, smashy, and have a shit ton of fun. We just got to make sure the rest of the crowd is ready for it, because when that breakdown hits, we're throwing down, we're throwing people around to the side, And if someone gets thrown up on stage, please just send them back our way because that's just fun. And it's courteous.
Oh, hell yeah. I will tell you, though, I'm more worried about what's going to happen on that stage during that breakdown because we made it specifically enough that it's not too complex so that we can all be running around like crazy and bumping into each other. So it may be a little more dangerous on stage than off stage, but we'll see. We'll work it out. We'll let you know.
You can still make it dangerous off stage and include yourself in it too. I've seen plenty of times where guitarists and bassists and vocalists have jumped into the pit during a breakdown while playing.
Dude, that's wild.
I've only ever seen it happen with one drummer before.
Then that's saying, well, you're using tracks a lot, aren't you there, Mr.
Oh,
drummer?
no, they brought like a little like makeshift kit out from the side and put it in the middle of the pit for him to play.
That is brilliant. Wow. I can't imagine how pissed off all the techs and the sound guy and everybody is that have to do that, but that sounds amazing. We need to do that too.
I mean, you might want to, you're going to need to make extra cookies that say sorry for making you do more work and have your little logo on it and just give it to them. I mean, it'll be different than the radio, but maybe hopefully they'll enjoy it and they'll, be like, all is forgiven.
Dude, I love it. You're giving me great ideas, man. I'm going to jot these down. This is great.
Oh, if you either jot these down or once it releases, just, go back to be like, okay, I forgot about this. Let's take some notes here, whether you're using your own like written style or it's like, okay, let's get like that AI version of it. Just like, okay, when this was brought up, remember that. We're good to go.
So sick.
Oh, it'll be fun. But of course, one of the big things that happened you guys this year was a single charting on the Billboard Rock Charts, and that is Dead Inside. And that's one thing I want to talk about because I want to get more people into the band. And of course, if that is a single that is really popping off right now, it's a great opportunity for more people to get into the band. So when it came to writing Dead Inside, what was the full idea behind it that ended up creating the track the way that it is today?
Yeah, and let me just say that's our second song this year that charted on Billboard. So we released earlier in the year Stuck Against the Wall, and that one got to 37 on Billboard and 34 on Mediabase, and now we're way sooner. That took a few months. Way sooner, earlier now in the process, and we've charted 31, and now the charts are going to sleep until the new year, but we'll see where we pop up after the new year. We're excited because hopefully we'll get into the 20s and so on.
Also, you can say you ended the year on the Billboard charts, and that is something that not a lot of people can say.
No, yeah, totally, and thank you for bringing that up. We're super proud, man. It's like a dream, right? I never thought we'd be on the radio, let alone in top 40. It's incredible. Dead Inside is a song that we worked with producer Mitch Marlowe out of Nashville. He came out to my house in Vegas. I got a studio out here where I'm sitting right now. It had enough stuff that he could work from here, and we had the entire band out here, and we spent a couple days working on Dead Inside. We told him, we said, Mitch, bring ideas. We have ideas. I love giving producers a ton of creative liberty and say, hey, that breakdown or that chorus or that riff that you had or whatever it is that you always wanted to release, but none of the bands were into, or they didn't even let you show it to them. Show it to us. Let's see what you got. And then we brought our stuff and we mixed it all together and got Dead Inside. Dead Inside is a harder, it's more new metal. We always keep our stuff melodic hard rock, but Dead Inside has a lot of new metal elements. And we're super proud, and the crowds have reacted really positively to that, and we're heading in that direction. So the next one we're working on, and with a different producer, and Mitch is coming out in January again to do a couple more tunes with us here in Vegas. We're just gonna stay in this vein for a little longer, but we're really enjoying it. We're loving it. We're ballady. We have a lot of the ballady stuff, hard rock. But yeah, we've been trying this new stuff, which we all love. We're all influenced. Korn is a massive influence for me. Linkin Park, a massive influence for me, and all of us, right? So yeah, that's kind of the gist of what Dead Inside is.
That's an interesting gist to really go off on it. I've heard a number of artists that brought on the podcast, and they talk about working with producers, giving them a little bit more creative liberty for the purpose of, yes, as an artist, as the one writing the music, the idea that you're trying to get across, it's embedded in you, and you're going to try and put it out there in the way that makes the most amount of sense to your mind. But if you have a producer in there and you're giving them a little bit more creative freedom, what that allows them to do is discover where they're going to end up connecting with the song, if they connect with it on a similar emotional track that you do, or if it's completely different. Maybe something has to change, maybe something's not fully there, but they're going to look at it with a completely different perspective than you as the writer and as the creator is, to end up creating a track that not only impacts the absolute message and idea that you had, but creates it in a way that is going to impact it more for people that are out there and impact it with a much longer of a like longevity withstanding kind of style. The given fact that you're able to just do that and have the freedom to let that happen, especially from a producer side, and check out what other ideas they've always had but have never been able to maximize on, you're just taking these ideas and you're seeing what is going to work best for you. You're giving the ability to adapt at any moment in time, like the freedom to go. So that's what I'm absolutely loving about this song too, because it has the feeling that there was a lot of ideas that were coming through in this song, and you let the creative freedom, not only yourself, but the guys you're working with producing it, really take over so that you created something that was absolutely going to hit on every step of the way. And any idea that was going to be out there was actually going to have a chance. You didn't have these preconceived notions, embedded ideas that this song had to be a certain way. And if it wasn't a certain way, then it had to be, scrapped or thrown in the trash. You let it be. You let the creative process fully take over. And had you not done that, it might not have charted on Billboard at all.
I agree with you. Everything you said, 100%. Couldn't have said it better myself. And look, at the end of the day, like one of our guys, James, also known as Von Bolt, our rhythm guitar player, he is a producer too. And he produced early on before he actually joined the band. He produced a couple of songs for us and he's great. But look, we even have a producer in the band. If we wanted to just stay specifically in one style and just do us, sure, we could do that. We have the ability to do it. But I just love to learn from others and work with others. And more than anything, if I find a producer I like them for them, not because they're gonna come and do whatever I tell them to do, right? I'd be wasting time, right? I'd be wasting people's time saying, okay, you're great, all this stuff you do is awesome. Come here. All I need you to do is press record, and then I'm gonna tell you how to do everything. I'm fooling myself, right? And I also want them to be totally invested in the song that we're working on, so that our success is their success is our success, right? And if they love what they're doing and it's all teamwork and we're all bouncing ideas and they feel like they're for the moment we're in that room together while they're editing and producing, we're all in the band together, right? That's why every time there's an interview, anybody ever asks me about a song, right away I mention the producer because they have such a big part in this. So Mitch is incredibly talented. I can't wait to see him again, see what we're going to do next. But a lot of this came from Mitch and a lot of this came from us too. But it's definitely not me telling him what we want. It's 100% a team effort. And a lot of the times we'd be like, hey, what if we do this? And he'd push back. He's like, no, I don't like that. It's not going to work. And we're like, you know what? You gave me the right reason or you just gave me your reason and I feel you. And let's not do that. And sometimes he would adjust. So yeah, for me, it's, you got to have if you're going to go after big name producers, you're doing it for a reason and listen to them, right? Let them be a part of the band for that time. So yeah.
Not if you're going after big name producers, you're going after some smaller producers just trying to get their name out there because these guys are also heavily invested in what they're doing. They're heavily invested in the music that they love and what they're trying to create. If you also give them, let's say, I mean, it's harder to give them free because they don't have the track record behind it, but you never know what ideas they bring to the table. You never know what kind of mindset they could be thinking of and try these different ideas and create something that you never knew was possible. Plus, all the producers that are out there that are the big producers, they all had to start somewhere beforehand too, or before they got where they are. I think about Joey Sturgis. I've had him on the podcast before, and we were talking about like, yeah, he was never really thinking about going into the production game, and he just ended up landing himself in there out of nowhere. And look at where he's at now. He's known as one of the best producers out there, especially in the metalcore realm. He's teaching people how to produce with Joey Sturgis tones and with Nail the Mix, all that kind of stuff. So if you give people a chance, you never know what ideas they might bring to the table. They could bring an idea that has never been tried before, a sound that has never been thought of before, and it could be something that connects with everybody in the band, and you try and work off of that. It allows for that investment to happen, whether it's a larger producer or a smaller producer. But when you have that investment in there where they're involved with it as well, Now the passion is there from them, and that extra passion will lead to even better things than someone who's just doing it for a paycheck. Think about when you're at work, everybody. Think about when you're at your job. If you're connected to it and you're passionate about it, you're going to go the extra mile. You're going to put in that extra energy. And I'm not talking about, putting in the extra hours or anything. You're just going to put in that extra oomph to get the job done because you're connected to it. You want to do it. You're passionate about it. But if you're just going to a job for a paycheck, you're just going to do it up to where the job description states, and that's it. And if you want greatness, you're not going to do it by just doing what the job description is.
That's such a good comparison, man. And thank you for correcting me on it's not just the big name producers. What happens with me is that I'm so wowed by what they do because I honestly could never even dream of producing anything because I just don't understand how it all like I'm here in the session and I look at Pro Tools or whatever they're using and I'm like, I think it would take me 12 hours just to figure out that thing he did for about 15 seconds, So for me, they're all in my head, they're all like big name producers. That's kind of, it's the wrong use of the words. I admire them so much, but you're right. It's up and comers. And hey, there's some producers out there that we would also love to check out and maybe do some with, but they charge a lot of money and we're not in that position to pay for that. So sometimes we work with, we have different deals with everyone. But sometimes we've been able to get those that'll do it also, for free up front in exchange for points in the back. So it's exciting, man. And the longer we go and the more stuff that we achieve and the more shows we play and now having these 2 songs charting on Billboard and Mediabase, it just opens so many doors for people to say, hey, you guys want to work together? You guys want to come and play here? You guys want to go open for that band? So it's been a blast, man. And like you said, like going to work, right? If you are just gonna half-ass it because and that's look, if you just need that paycheck to get you from point A to point B while you work on your passion on the side, that's okay too, right? You don't want a career in that. But if your career isn't what you're doing and you're half-assing it and you're expecting big results from half-assing it, it's not gonna work if that's what you want to be invested in, right? It's you said it, man. That was so good.
Yeah, we're not putting people down if like you're working a job just to get a paycheck to pay the bills, maybe try and better yourself after that, and that's not what you want to do in life. We're not trying to belittle you in any way at all. And the same thing with artists as well. What we're basically saying is using it as an example of if you're passionate about something and you really want to achieve that greatness, you're going to have to find that passion and that investment is going to lead you to go the extra mile, put in the extra effort. That's going to set you further above and beyond where everybody else is. Whether you're a musician, whether you're, podcasts like myself, or you work in a corporate job like I still do yes, I still have a full-time job, or just working wherever you are, it is something that you find that passion for at least some portion of it, and you're able to continue to build up to the point where you're going to end up reaching your goals at some point. You just got to find that passion. You got to find that investment and then drive forward on it. Now I start to sound like, I'm doing like a freaking TED Talk here on this. My God, I'm going to have to change this up. Going back to, of course, Velvet Jane here. One thing I noticed too, especially when we talk about Denside, is of course now it's charting on Billboard, and I was like to go through the song, and I like to kind of pick it apart and see what I like about it, where I'm interested in it, what things maybe didn't understand for me. And what I was trying to figure out for this one was, when it came to charting on Billboard, what's that thing that's making people listen to it consistently? What's the piece that's either bringing them in, or what's the piece that's keeping them in? And I think I figured it out after a couple of listens.
Oh, I want to know. What is it? Do tell.
So
I've been wondering myself.
So I think the first piece that opens up is, especially when you hear the intro of it, because it has that lower riff, but it just has this quick, like high distortion moment out of nowhere. It's like a little crank that's in there. And it is absolutely incredible because it sets you in a completely different mindset. It just absolutely takes this song and turns it from maybe something that we've heard plenty of times before to now you're expecting something. You're expecting a little something different. But the thing is it's grabbing your attention and it's absolutely bringing you in. And it's such a small, subtle little thing that's done. It's so tiny and it just happens once or twice. It's not very often in the intro. But when it hits, you notice it, and now you're invested in the song because of that. One thing that ended up bringing me a little bit of a smile was when I was listening to the pre-chorus, the way the vocals worked. I was like, I heard like hey, wait, and I'm like, wait a minute. Is this like a Nirvana heart-shaped box kind of sample here for the pre-chorus? I really don't know where we're going with this. But now You're connecting the song with something that with something that especially a lot of people are going to know, or if you play Guitar Hero 2, yeah, you're going to be like, oh, I know where that came from. So now you're kind of having this pause moment connected to the song, but what absolutely hits you is the hook, which is the chorus. It's incredibly catchy, keeping a great melodic rock flow to it. There's none of that extra crank or that extra like high distortion piece from the intro that's really involved, but the clean vocals melodically accented by uncleans afterward. Love to show this dichotomy between like a positive outside representation and maybe a negative inside representation, like, you know, you're dead inside. And it makes sense why the song is working so well on rock radio, because the chorus absolutely makes that connection and absolutely is the piece that people are listening to and they want to listen to again and again and again and can't get out of their heads.
Dude, I'm blown away. This is the most awesome review of a song that I've ever heard.
Yes!
And especially because it's our song. Dude, I've never heard any of our songs broken down like that. And I love it because a lot of the things you said, I didn't even think about. And especially the intro part. Now that you mention it, I'm like, oh, yeah. And I got to give that to our producer because the intro part was him. And I'm like, yeah, now it makes sense why somebody could be drawn to that. And I love how it sounds, but I didn't go that deep. So, dude, thank you for that. And yeah, the Nirvana thing. No, I've never even made the connection. Now, bullshit. Yeah, every now and then I'm just a fan of throwing some kind of like tip of the hat to, you know, you tip your hat to your influences. And yeah, that's right.
Yep.
And I mean, Nirvana, I'd say bigger influences for me are Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, you know, whatever, a lot of that stuff, but Alice in Chains. But Nirvana is up there, right? And that's such a well-known, hey, wait. And I wanted to keep on going, but the band's like, stop, dude. That's cap it there. No need to keep singing there. But yeah, it's a nod to them and our influences. And I've every now and in another song, I mention something about feeling outshined or things like that, or It's So Easy, blah, blah, blah. It's a song from Guns N' Roses. I like doing, we don't do that in every song, of course, but I like doing those little nods. But that one connected. It seems like a lot of people are like, hey, that sounds like that Nirvana part and so on. And then there's one more that I have to fight to keep this one on with my rhythm guitar player because he's like, I don't know about this. But right before we go into that middle section, that breakdown, he goes, go. And I just fucking love Korn, man, when they do that on which one? Freak on a Leash?
Yeah, Freak on a Leash, they do it.
Yeah. I'm like, one day I'm going to add a go to one of my songs because I just love that energy that flows from that word. And it happened that we threw that in there, but I'm not trying to plagiarize anyone or anything. No. It's a nod to our influences. And yeah, dude, but I love the analysis. Also, something else that we did there in that breakdown is we all sing, except our drummer. He does not enjoy doing backup vocals, and most drummers don't really, right? But in that middle section, I got a couple lines. Our lead guitar player has a couple lines, and you can see it on the music video that happens. But so we're always trying to be, look, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel, I suppose, but we're always trying to be a little innovative and not just do what every other active rock band is doing. And this new song we're working on has a lot of that and so on. But dude, again, I'm blown away. Thank you for that. Did you write all that stuff down? Did you have a bunch of notes or something? Because that was incredible, dude.
Yep. I have a bunch of notes. I've got three screens set up here. One has the video on it that we're recording right now, so I can see you, I can see me. So hi, Kevin on video. How you doing? I've got another larger screen that has the mixer on it, so I can see the audio track recording. But then every time I do one of these episodes, whether a band is a single out or a brand new album out, like what I did with Miles Kennedy the day before we recorded this, I went through his whole entire album the exact same way. So any song that we potentially brought up, I could go into, and I had my whole idea for that song and what I thought of it written down. I could quickly reference it. So, because I listen to music all the time, and when you listen to so much music, you know, sometimes certain songs come and go, you know, they just ideas come out of your head. I got to have it written down so I can make sure I know what I was feeling and thinking at the moment of writing it or listening to it. Because when I first started, I started typing, all of a sudden that crank, and I was like, huh? Whoa, I got to go back to that and try this again. But I mean, first off, if I wasn't going that deep into a song, then what's the point of doing a podcast like this where I have the chance to do something like that and absolutely discover these great things? When it comes to putting those little pieces of your influences in there and the call outs to it, it's like towing the line of, am I, you know, kind of getting a little too close to that plagiarism moment, or am I just making an homage to it? With that little Nirvana piece to it, it's quick. It's not elongated, but it stands out. But who else has done something like that? It makes sense to put it in there. Screaming go at the end of, one of the parts, just like Korn would. How many bands, especially in metal, when they get to the breakdown, they, intro it with a blah or a ooh.
Right. Yeah.
Or an animal
honest,
noise.
I just admit it. They're all doing the same, though.
Yeah. But there's one thing that you said there, which makes a lot of sense. And I kind of like the reason why you put some of these pieces of your, like the homage to some of your influences in there, is because I'll use this one with Nirvana, for example. I have not heard a song that has that piece just have a quick homage to it really in anywhere. And if you were doing the exact same thing that every radio rock or active rock band was doing at the moment, think about where rock had been ever, like before the pandemic and even earlier on that. Everybody was complaining that it sounded the same, that it was dead. Or, if you listen to rock radio, you were getting the same bands over and over and over again in the 2010s. There was nothing fresh that was out there. So if you kept following the same path, or if you kept following everybody else's path, you would have gotten everybody else's results. You're not doing that, and look at the results that you're getting by just following your own path and forging your own way.
Dude, 100%. And thank you for mentioning that and for the kind words. I guess I just thought about this now as we're talking. I guess you see that a little bit in hip hop, where they will sing a rap song and then they'll take a couple lines from another song or a few words in that same beat as the other song. And that's cool. Like I'm not a hip hop fan. There's good stuff that I do like, but it's they do that. So yeah, I guess we did that too. But it also makes the song a little familiar from the get-go. When you hear a song for the first time and you're like, hey, I think I've heard this before. I don't think that was our intention by any means, but parts like that add a little bit to that. So it makes it kind of, hey, it feels familiar. You want to listen to it again because you already heard it, even though you haven't, if that makes any sense.
It does make a lot of sense. I'm glad you guys put it in this song as well to really create that. And I do have another question, actually 2 questions I want to ask you before I wrap this up, because I know you've got another one of these to do right after we're done recording. First thing I got to ask you is, alrighty, we're recording this at the end of December in 2024. Dead Inside is charting on the last chart of 2024. We're going to be going into 2025. It's a brand new year. What's to come from Velvet Chain?
Yeah, we're working on figuring out when we can announce some stuff that we have in 2025 as far as tours, maybe some opening stuff. I can't really say anything right now. Like every band says the same thing, I'm sure. Like, I want this stuff, but nothing. I can't share anything. But sadly, that's just the nature of the beast, and we got to, discretion about that. But working on new music, new album coming. Some of the songs we already released, we're going to group them into an album. We got 2 or 3 more coming out. So probably March, April, May, around there, we'll have an album out. So, and expect to see us. Hopefully we'll hit South America too again, maybe Europe, and keep having fun, man. That's what it's about.
Hey, you gave us some good stuff. You gave us more than maybe what we even could have imagined. You gave us a lot more than the big things coming. So I got to thank you for that, Nils. I appreciate it. But
and I will add, this new record that's coming out will be the best record you've ever heard, even though we still have yet to create 2-3 songs. But yeah.
It's like we're going to have to get like a Super Bowl guarantee for that. You're going to go all Joe Namath, like, I guarantee it. And see where it goes from there. But I got one more question for you, Nils. It's one I love to ask every artist I bring on the podcast. It's one that gets us as music fans to get to know more new music, and one for you to get to support the music and the bands and the artists that you absolutely love right now. So I'm going to ask you for 3 of these, okay? Can you name me 3 bands or artists that you love that you would love to see more people get into right now?
Hell yeah. Okay. Moon Fever. You got to get them on this podcast. They're our buddies. We just opened for Hinder with them. Every time we see each other, we just have a great time. Great rock and roll. Every time we go to a Touch Tunes bar with Touch Tunes, we just play their shit over and over. We love it so much. So check out Moon Fever. Crashing Wayward out of Las Vegas. Killer band. Very STP-ish, but with a modern twist. So good. We've done a few shows with them too. So Crashing Wayward, Moon Fever, and another band that I personally love, I don't know them, I hope to we tour with them someday, is The Hunt out of Florida, I believe. A couple of brother-sister thing.
Yeah.
Again, never spoken to them, know nothing about them other than a fan of music, and I just play their stuff over and over. They're great. They're getting real big. Check them out. The Hunt. Super cool music.
So those are a couple of good picks. And before we wrap this up, I'll give a mention on another one. Crash Your Word, that's one that I know the name of, but I've never really gotten that, fully to check out. So I have to check out that one. The Haunt, I've tried bringing on the podcast back at the end of 2021 when they opened for The Who on their like fall tour in 2021, and it just didn't work out. So that one was an attempt. I got to attempt again. Moon Fever, though, funny enough, I've tried interviewing him twice, but the connection both times cut out so badly that it just wasn't able to work. Funny enough, the person that got me in contact with you also works with Moon Fever.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I'm aware. Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? Let's give it one more try for 2025. Let's give it a shot. So we're going to make that happen. We're going to make it happen.
Awesome. They're so much fun. Those guys are a blast. You're going to just laugh the entire time.
I was trying to remember like anything I talked about them. I think it was like I think the one idea we came up with was like pancake taco. I can't remember how we came up with it, but they were like traveling somewhere when the connection got, but we were talking about pancake tacos.
That's incredible. It sounds like them. Yeah.
So it's like a breakfast taco, even better though.
Hell yeah. I'm going to ask them about it.
Hell yeah. And they might not remember it, but for some reason, it just peaked in my brain. But I'll bring it up to him next time I talk to him. But Nils, I want to thank you for taking your time in the podcast. Hey, thank you for joining us. I'm going to close this episode out with 3 things. So first things first, when it comes to Velvet Chains, when it comes to finding them online, and make sure you don't mess up their name like I did at the beginning of this. Yes, I still remember that. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to go to script from the podcast where it says Find Velvet Chains online. Links, labels for everything from their social media where you can watch their YouTube videos, where you can stream their music, and where you can catch them live when they're going to be going on tour at a city near you. Everything is down there. I'm doing all the research. Just click on your favorite link and go and follow them. There's not much hard work involved. I'm doing all the hard work. All you need to do, tap, click. You're good to go to follow these guys. Now it's time for number 2, Nils. Never have guests in the podcast. I enjoy the podcast. I tend to make a promise as a way to say thank you. I appreciate you taking the time today. And I wish to continue to support the band in the future. And man, this is a lot of fun. So my promise to you is this. It's not an if. It's a when, because this is going to happen. We just don't have a day or time yet. But when I get to see you perform live for the first time, I'm going to make my way to come and find you. I will give you a nice hello, but that's not the promise. The promise is first round's on me.
Oh, dude. Hell yeah. And then we'll do the second, you do the third, we'll do the fourth, you do the fifth, and then it just goes down from there, man.
Or if it's Taste of Madison, I just walk in with a whole backpack full of like a case of beer, and I'm just like, hey guys.
There you go. No, dude, thank you so much for having me, Kevin. This has been great. It's been a lot of fun. These are always fun, but I've laughed a lot more than I typically do on these. So I've had a blast, man, and that's what it's about. You're too kind. We are who we are. We achieve what we achieve thanks to people like you and the fans and so on. So appreciate you, man. Anytime you want to hear my ugly, boring conversational pieces, call me up and I'll be here for you, brother.
Well, if we can start on another conversation talking about Euro trips and missed safe words, I think we'll be just fine.
That's awesome.
All right, Nils, I got to end this by saying this. This is not goodbye, because I made you promise I love you back and again in the podcast feature. This is not goodbye, man. This is, I'll see you later.
Appreciate you, dude. Thank you so much.
Well, folks, in my interview with Nils from the band Velvet Chains, now it's time for Kevin's final thought. First off, Flugen Kesha Heimen, whatever the safe word was from Eurotrip. I got to say that again. I love saying that just because it's fun to say. But at the same time, it was just fantastic that Nils just, of course, jumped on my mishap of the name and really built it onto something that was even greater when it came to not only where the name came from, the creation of it, but that was one heck of a story. But this is where I want to go with this final thought. And it comes to what Nils was talking about with his producers and what the producers they work with. So when they're creating this music and they know that they don't know everything, and when they allow producers, no matter how big they are, whether they're the biggest producers in the world, the newest ones, or the upcoming ones, they allow them to have a piece of creative freedom so that they can express ideas, what they think might be better. They can try different things out, and they can see where it might take a song without really any pushback, because it allows investment into those songs. It allows investment into those tracks, and it allows a couple more ears to hear it to really make sure that whatever you're trying to hit with that idea, whatever you're trying to hit with that sound, whatever you're trying to hit with that mindset is going to work. So it also adds to what we can all do ourselves, where if we all are invested in what we're doing, we tend to go the extra mile on it. We tend to put in more effort on it. You're seeing what's happening with Velvet Chains once they started writing their own music, once they heard some of that creative, criticism or constructive criticism with their initial album, and it's grown to the point where they've had 2 songs chart on Billboard in 2024. And they're continuing to learn, they're continuing to grow, and I absolutely love the thought of it, and I love the idea behind it. So when you're seeing that come into fruition, you can apply that to your own life, whether it's a creative aspect, whether it's in a goal-oriented aspect, whether you're in a job aspect, it doesn't matter. If you find that thing that's going to give you passion and creativity and just drive what you want to do and drive you towards your goals, you're going to end up going the extra. You're going to put in the extra effort without even trying, and it's going to take you a lot further. I mean, we're still going on the podcast 6 years. We're still trying to learn here. So we'll be like Velvet Chains and just keep growing and get to the point where we've got a lot more episodes hitting, those 1,000, 10,000 view markers in 2025. One can hope. But to make sure you're following Velvet Chains, please go to the description of the podcast below. Links, labels for everything are going to be down there. Please be sure to follow along with us in the Chord Progression Podcast. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Links in the description of the podcast below as well. Hit subscribe down here on YouTube to make sure you're following along with us on everything. Hit the follow button on Spotify and podcast and not miss an episode every single Tuesday and Thursday. And hit the like button to push these up on the algorithm. I need to thank Nils for coming on this one. Dude, that first round is going to be so sweet. But on that note, that's going to be your neighbor. I think we're listening to the Chord Progression Podcast. My name is Kevin, and you guys know how everything was. That was a big, healthy, and hearty. See ya! Yeah.